Hey everybody, giving it an extra a minute or so, half a minute for people to join. So leaving the team call. All right, my patience is little. Let's get started. This is not the retrospective, even though that's what was in the script. This is actually the kickoff of GitLab 10.2. And I wanted to start this meeting because, as you know, every month we work on making the best release possible. But this month will be exceptionally good, even considering you've already released 10.0 and 10.1 is in the pipeline. Because this month will be the start of something new. We're actually, you saw yesterday the presentation of Sid and others where we showed like what is our vision for 2018. And you know that we already shipped part of it with Auto DevOps. And in 10.2 we're doing something very special because we're shipping the first bit of what is to become Enterprise Edition Ultimate. So actually with the release of 10.2, we'll be releasing Enterprise Edition Ultimate, and in particular because of the portfolio management feature, at least the very first iteration of those. Besides those, there's a whole lot of other cool stuff, but that makes this release a little bit extra special. So without further ado, I'm giving the word to Victor, who's going to tell about what discussion is going to work on in the coming month. Victor.
Sure, like you said, we're going to do portfolio management, a brand new area of GitLab, so that's very exciting. So if you look at the document that we're for the kickoff, you'll see that we're going to launch a feature called Roadmap or Roadmaps. And basically, it's allowing you to see work progressing over time so you can track it, you can manage the work. As always, the first iteration is going to look very bare bones, but we are setting up ourselves for great success with a roadmap view. And to support a roadmap, we're going to introduce a new concept called epics, basically to wrap multiple issues together. And it's going to be at the group level to start off. And so if you haven't really used epics before and you're working at GitLab, just for now, think of them as meta issues. It's going to be meta issues on steroids, essentially. And then we're going to make it very, very easy to view those epics and the progress of that work in a roadmap configuration or a roadmap view. So you can click on the image, the small little thumbnail there, and then you can see a larger image, or you can click on the issue link itself. We're also going to add a feature to promote a project milestone to a group milestone. So that's been a long time coming. And it's just one of the things that we really wanted to do. And we're trying to squeeze all the capacity we can to do it. And so we've scheduled it for 10.2 to quickly promote or enable you to promote a project milestone to a group milestone, as we've already launched group milestones for a few iterations now. And finally, we're going to finally have our GitLab app on the Slack directory. We've actually been very close to that, again, but with just competing priorities, we're trying to wrap that up really quickly. And finally, the safe configuration for the issue boards. We tried really, really hard to finish it up in 10.1, but we really, really wanted to polish it and get it perfect. So we're just finishing it up, and we're going to get it ready for 10.2. Fabio.
Yeah, thanks, Victor. So looking forward to seeing epics in action. So let's talk about CI/CD plans for 10.2. We started Kubernetes GKE integration in 10.1, and now you will be able to create a cluster. In this cluster, we are going to add the ability in 10.2 to install some applications that are really needed for your deployment. So we start by adding a tiller endpoint that is needed then to install via Helm charts all the other applications. Then we also will make very, very easy to install an ingress based on Nginx in order to have your web applications to be available from remote. And you can also install GitLab Runner in just one click and have it automatically enabled for your project. If you look at the mockups that are linked in the document, you can see both a preview of what is the brand new CI/CD cluster page. That is the new place where we will put everything regarding Kubernetes cluster integrations. And you can also see what we propose as the installation of applications. So as you can see, very, very simple. Then we also plan to move Kubernetes integration, so what we already have in the integration page, into the new cluster page, since we want just one place to manage your Kubernetes clusters. So people can create a new one or can manage and can configure an existing one in the same place and leverage all the features, both of them. Continues with the direction issues. We have an improved code quality widget. So you know that now in the merge request, you can see the code quality improvements that your merge request is giving to your software. But for now, it's still a little static. We plan to improve it and add hyperlinks and more information that are really actionable. So you can use them to jump directly into the software and to see what you can improve and improve it as soon as possible. We also have a great group runners that is community contribution. We are following very close, and this will allow groups to have their own specific runners. So shared at group level is something that is very valuable, for example, for big organizations that let's say map one-to-one with a group. It will also be available for subgroups. So even if your organization has different divisions, it is fine. You can define it and everyone will use it automatically. Last but not least, we are implementing CI/CD quotas. It is something that we are working for a while. So this is just the second iteration of the same story. The goal of CI/CD quotas is to limit the abuse and the misuse of pipelines made by malicious users or users that are not able to figure out what they're really doing. This has the double the double goal of make GitLab.com more reliable and stable, just limiting some of the parameters. Obviously, these parameters, when enforced, will be announced publicly, and they will be very, very high. So standard projects will not be affected by these limits. Only, let's see, very strange configuration or abusers will be blocked by this. And that's all for CI/CD and 10.2. So Joshua, what about Prometheus?
Thanks, Fabio. That's super exciting. In particular, all of the awesome GKE and cluster integration work. I can't wait for that to come out and be available. On the Prometheus side, we got a couple things working on here, pretty exciting. Number one is to apply for before the kickoff, but we're really looking at this one delivered now, is the comparison of Canary and stable tracks. So if you are deploying to Kubernetes and you are leveraging Canaries, for example, our support that we have today in deploy boards, we can now actually show you the comparison of how your Canary is performing versus the rest of your production fleet. So this can give you a really nice comparison of if it's doing better, if it's doing worse, and then you can then take action accordingly if you want to continue the deployment or perhaps roll it back or take other action. And so this is really exciting here, and we'll give you some live sort of metrics in the dashboard, as well as some percentage comparisons as far as, again, whether you're improving latency. What latency is, of course, perhaps would be going down, would be great. Otherwise, you can, again, see if you're having some problems there. We're also going to be driving towards business metrics. What this will do is we'll provide you with the framework to add your own metrics, in particular tailored around any kind of business metrics you want to collect. So, average users on the site, daily active users, or perhaps, the depth of the customer service chat queue, or how the average order size in the basket, or how a particular A/B test is going. There's a whole bunch of these different kind of metrics that you could be wanting to keep track of within the dashboard, and we're going to start to lay the foundation here with business metrics, allowing you to add these in yourself if you have them integrated in your code. So that's really exciting there. It'll also allow for other arbitrary metrics as well. The last item here is kind of our highest priority, and that is to fix up the last remaining issues with the GitLab Ruby metrics. These metrics are the instrumentation of the GitLab server itself, in particular Ruby code. And so we have a couple hurdles there we're looking to resolve before we make that fully GA, and can then, again, recommend everyone to get that turned on and can then also work to have parity between your influx metric system, influx metric system, and then also work to deprecate that over time here as we kind of make the transition from InfluxDB to Prometheus complete for, again, monitoring GitLab itself. And so super excited about that. That's been a pretty long effort here to develop the Ruby gem, to improve it, and then to kind of get the last few kinks worked out before making it fully GA as well. So that's it for the main goals for the Prometheus team. Pretty exciting there. We now can talk about some of the goals we have for the build team. This is a really exciting one we have here. This is one that we'll be working on for the next couple of releases here. So stay tuned, but it'll take some time to deliver all of these. But what we want to do is we want to sort of take a high-level look at how we have a cloud-native development solution or deployment solution for GitLab, right? So how you install GitLab in a sort of more cloud-native friendly way. And so we'll be kind of delivering the foundation of this with taking our kind of full all-in-one container based on our Omnibus package and offering instead single containers for each particular service, right? So Gitaly, so Sidekick, the registry, Mattermost, all of these will be individually containerized. And then we'll also have corresponding Helm charts for all of these, along with a single GitLab Helm chart to help stitch them together and to make deployment easier. And so the goal of this, of course, is to have, again, a more cloud-native friendly approach and to allow it to be more easily horizontally scaled with the individual pieces and components. So that's really exciting work there. And again, it'll take a little bit of time here, a couple releases to kind of fully complete that process. But we're looking to have it ideally here in beta by end of the year as a kind of stretch goal for ourselves. So stay tuned there for further progress. We'll also be doing some work on the Redis side. So we'll be adding support within GitLab to talk to up to 3 different Redis instances separated by persistence class. And that's going to help improve the time to recovery for GitLab in case there's a challenge there. Right now, these Redis clusters can get relatively large. And so this can help to, again, improve time to sort of recover if you do have perhaps an issue on that side of things. And so in particular, this is important for our GitLab.com service as well. We'll also be doing some improvements to our GitLab HA configuration, making it easier to configure and take advantage of. So that's pretty exciting there on the HA side. We're then also doing some other improvements to our Omnibus package to help make any kind of errors or warnings or notices more noticeable in the GitLab reconfigure output. So as you do an installation or as you do a reconfigure, sometimes important log messages can be relatively far up in the log messages. You get a lot of lines. And so what we're going to do here is going to try to give you a summary at the very end with how things went, and if there are any things that you need to be aware of that perhaps scrolled by earlier, we'll summarize those at the bottom to give you an idea and give you one place to look. And hopefully this will make things a little more readable and usable with your Omnibus and our Chef outfit in particular. Some other improvements we're making also to sort of the development process and working with GitLab itself is we're going to improve our release workflow. So right now we have 2 branches, one for our Community Edition, one for our EE Edition, with very few differences in between them on the Omnibus side of things. So we'll be moving to a single stable branch, which will make all of our release managers' lives easier, which is great. And we'll also be working to speed up our package compilation as well to make sure that we can, again, try to optimize that and be able to build packages a little quicker, again, to improve everyone's lives here in working and developing GitLab. So pretty exciting things there for the build team. And with that, we'll transition over to Mike to talk about platform.
Great, thanks, Josh. Sounds like you've been pretty busy over there in both of your teams. James and I are really excited to talk about what's coming in platform. I feel a little bit left out because I don't have very fancy screenshots. One of my features is a checkbox and the rest are invisible magic, but hopefully invisible magic's good. So firstly is commit author restrictions, and what this is part of our enterprise authentication and user management offering. So you can imagine in big, heavy regulated industries or any development environments where there's an extreme amount of control that's required, commit author restrictions prevents somebody from pushing commits to a repository that they didn't author. So obviously it's possible that you can merge in someone else's code and then sort of push all of those commits to a particular branch, and there might be code that's not written by you. This will prevent that from happening in those types of environments. And like I said, it's just a simple checkbox that you need to check to enable that. And obviously that works really well alongside some of our other EEP restrictions, such as enforcing signed commits and other capabilities that we have in that space. The second capability is, again, this is invisible magic around auditing. In GitLab Enterprise Edition Starter, we have some very basic auditing capabilities, so you can understand how authentication happened on the server, and each group or project has some basic auditing that happens on them. In GitLab EEP, a few releases ago, we introduced our centralized audit logging, and this is a single place in the admin area where you can see across the whole instance what's been happening. You can filter it by different types of events. And in EEP, we're going to be adding more capability into that centralized audit logging for events that happen in groups and in projects, so you can just have better auditability of your GitLab server across the entire instance. And then the sort of final two pieces of invisible magic. Number one is personal access tokens were deprecated recently in GitLab. Private access tokens, personal access tokens are replacing private access tokens, which are recently deprecated. Personal access tokens are a lot more secure. You can limit the scope of them. They're easier to control. And what we're doing as part of that deprecation is taking any private access token and migrating them over to being a personal access token. This is obviously to ensure that any applications that you have that are already talking to GitLab through the API, or any integrations that you have talking to GitLab through the API, will continue to function, but then you can very easily go and modify the personal access token after the fact. And then finally, as ever in any release, we try and improve the performance of GitLab. You can have a look at the performance improvements that we're doing. One of the noticeable ones to point out is that we're actually bringing rate limiting onto the API, and this will prevent any sort of denial of service attacks that are coming via abuse of an API. And with that, it's over to James, who's one of the other product people who's recently joined us on the platform to talk about something that's really exciting.
Thanks for that introduction. So in yesterday's presentation, where we heard about the vision and direction for GitLab, Sid spoke about the new multi-file editor, and I'm really excited to announce that it will be available in alpha in 10.2. It used to be that if you committed a change through the GitLab interface, you could only modify one file at a time. So I'll just share my screen and show you what it's going to look like. So in the new multi-file editor, it's going to make it easier for anyone to contribute, not just small one-line changes, but large, meaningful changes. So the multi-file editor uses the VS Code Monaco editor and allows you to open multiple files in tabs. Modifications to the multiple files are then staged beneath and are submitted as a single commit. And we're really excited about making it easier than ever to contribute to projects. And this should be available as a feature flag in the preferences panel in 10.2. Also, in 10.2, we're bringing back the README only view to projects. So the project homepage is the first thing you see when you open a project in GitLab. By default, the project avatar and description below that is a list of files and last commit data, followed by the README. And this is really great for people that are primarily interested in the content or activity of the repository. But there were many people who requested that we bring back the README only view that we used to have prior to 9.0. So we're sorry to those people who really loved that view, and we're bringing it back. Although the README only view won't be the default view, we'll keep the current default. Again, in 10.2, we're marching forward with internationalization. We're continuing to externalize strings, which is the process that makes them available to translate. And if you haven't visited translate.gitlab.com, I would encourage you to take a look. We really welcome contributions and are very thankful for everyone who contributes translations and reviews and proofreads them. And on that note, if you're a native speaker of a language other than English, we would really appreciate your participation, either contributing translations or proofreading to help us grow the number of languages that GitLab supports. And if you'd like to learn more, we've recently updated the internationalization documents at docs.gitlab.com. We're also improving iconography in GitLab. So GitLab has a really great brand and identity, and the UX team has been working hard to make sure that really expresses itself when you use gitlab.com, or GitLab full stop. So to make sure that our brand and sense of style is really apparent. New icons have already begun to roll out in the navigation and sidebar, and they'll be continuing to roll out in 10.2. You should really take a look. Some of them have incredible personality and are just wonderful. So that's it from platform, and I think Yob an exceptionally good release. But I also have an update on GitLab Geo. So GitLab Geo is the feature that allows you to replicate your GitLab instance to other geographical locations as a read-only, fully operational version. This is a feature that's available in EEP. So continuing from last month, we're testing Geo at scale using our gitlab.com testbed, and great progress is being made on improving performance and fixing bugs. But there's 3 specific improvements in 10.2 I'd like to highlight. The first being support for PostgreSQL's foreign data wrapper. So we'll be implementing support for this, and this allows on the secondary server to jointly query across the geo-specific database that tracks the state of the geo replication and the replica of the primary GitLab database, and really improves the performance of those database queries. And that's really important for the kinds of scale that some of our EEP customers have. And this will introduce a requirement of PostgreSQL 9.6 for customers that are using the Geo feature. Also, we're adding support to the GitLab import task for hash storage. So hash storage was introduced in 10.0 to significantly improve the performance of GitLab Geo by removing the need to synchronize projects and group name renames between the different nodes. And in 10.2, we'll be updating the import task to use hash storage, which will make the 2 features work well together. And importantly, we're also going to be making the SSH authentication process more convenient when setting up a secondary server. One particularly error-prone step currently is the SSH authentication configuration, and that'll be fully automated in 10.2, making this important step both easy and secure. That's it from Geo, so back to you, Yob.
Thanks, James, and thanks, everyone. I can honestly say this is going to be the best release we've ever done. And given that we'll be spending a week in Greece with a large part of our team, I'm very excited about all the things that we're going to do. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're looking forward to the things. Click on the issues if you want to contribute in any way, if you have any thoughts or opinions about it. And we'll see each other next month. Thanks, everybody.